clap it up. Shalom, Israel. You are the Israelite School of the Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, since 1969, under Command and General Hana. I'm Precinct Officer of 50 Nayat. Tonight is the Brotherhood, Tuesday night Brotherhood class. And tonight we're going to talk about the diabolical ways of man. You know, of course, we're living in modern day Babylon, you know, land of confusion. You know, we got nothing but foul spirits out here in this world, you know. But, you know, we're going to go over a couple of scriptures tonight and, you know, just get this word out. You know, try to wake up people up out there. You know what I'm saying? The so-called Black, Latino, Native American man, woman, and child. You know, and bring them back to their heritage, knowledge of self. You know? So let's start in, you know, since we're talking about, you know, abominable place that we live in, you know, let's go to Job 16. Job 15. 15 and 16. And it reads, it's the book of Job, chapter 15, verse 16. How much more abominable and filthy is man? You know, I mean, that starting that off right there. How much more abominable and filthy is man? You know, what does the scripture say? You know, he's a liar, I'm paraphrasing, you know. Let the God be true and every man a liar. You know, meaning, let's go by these words right here that's in this book. You know, these laws, statutes, and commandments. This place will be a better place. Israel will be the head and not the tail. You know, because why? Man is abominable and filthy. You know, let's start from the top. Verse 16. How much more abominable and filthy is man, which drinketh iniquity like water. You know, that's crazy. I mean, we drink sin, iniquity like water, like it's nothing. You know, because this flesh is what? Carnal. You know? Well, how do we correct ourselves? Law, statutes, and commandments, which the Christian church says what? The laws are done away. You know? And they embedded that in our brains. They programmed us, you know, with Christianity, Catholicism. And they did it intentionally, you know, to destroy us, to defile us. And who is us? The lost sheep of the house of Israel, so-called Black, Latino, and Native American. Bottom line, you know, like the scripture says in Psalm 83, you know, they are confederate against thy hidden ones. Thy hidden ones is us, you know, God's chosen people. You know, but let's go to Revelations 18. Revelations 18. Let's just jump right into it about Babylon the Great. You know, Revelations 18 and starting at 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Now, this is John the Revelator, right? You know, he was given visions, you know, by the angels were taking him, you know, in spirit, you know, taking him and showing him all the foul places, the other kingdoms, you know, the empires before, you know, we had a number of Babylonian places. Well, the first one was in Genesis 11 with Nimrod. You know, remember they built the tower and they tried to, you know, come together, unite, what have you, and you know, try to just go against the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So what do? He did something to their tongues. You know, he gave them different languages so they can communicate. You know, what happened? I forgot. You know, I'm paraphrasing. I forgot the exact words what he did. But it means confusion. That's why it's called Babylon. Babylon means confusion in the Hebrew. You know, so they were confused. They couldn't work with each other and stuff. And now, you know, we are in spiritual Babylon now. And this place we know is straight confusion. This place is upside down. You know, here it is. You know, they expect us to, you know, accept alternative lifestyle. You know, you gotta say that. Alternative lifestyles. You can't even say others. You know, because they want to censor us. You know, and why? To protect the vile people out there. You know, people like pastors. You know what I'm saying? Politicians and stuff. You know, priests. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're censoring. You know, that's why they, you know, because you know, you can't say PDF file followed by priest. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they're gonna be like, damn, you know, it's kind of harsh, you know. But you know, to them, you know, I can't, you know, because I know that's what I am. You know, we're gonna have to censor that. You know what I'm saying? That's the only reason why they do it. You know, because you know, this place is still getting wicked. It's getting wicked by the day. They're not protecting, you know, little children. You know, by what we have to say, rape instead of, you know, the R word. You know, this place is still. This is how you know it's not working, because this place is still getting worse and worse and worse. Bottom line. So what's the whole point of censorship? It's not working. You got little ones like 10-year-old. I forgot the ages, but it was 9. It was a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old or what have you. In Ohio, I believe it was. You know, last year, you know, they raped a 5-year-old little girl. So obviously, this system is not working for them to censor people to speak the way they want to. I mean, you can, you know, these 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds that's doing that, they probably got, what is it, Instagram or something? I don't know, all that stuff out there that, you know, they don't censor. You know, they're probably watching that. But here on YouTube, you know, they censor and stuff. You know, it's bizarre. Straight hypocrites, right? You know, but yeah, let's go back to the time. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. Verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils. I mean, like I said, this place right here is a cesspool of devils, demons, wicked spirit. This is what this place is. We're in modern day Babylon, you know. And he was talking, and this angel was talking about, you know, other like I said, empires like Rome. You know, there's other powerhouses that fell, you know, that came down, right? Such as in Genesis 11, Nimrod's obelisk. Remember, that's what it's called. When they built the obelisk, you know, that was the land of Babylon. You know, Nimrod, the land of Nimrod. But that fell. You know what I'm saying? But here we are again. You know, because there's nothing new under the sun. And now we're in modern day Babylon, you know. But let's keep going. And it's become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean, hateful bird. And that's what we have here. You know, we got a place of, you know, this hateful bird, or it's subliminal for people. You know, all unclean birds, you know, bottom line. And that's what we have here, right? But verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. You know, they all, you know, they want to pattern themselves after, they're in, you know, in this fornication, that spiritual fornication, of course. You know what I'm saying? With the whore, the great whore, you know, Babylon. But all these other nations, you know, they make money, they come together and make money and stuff like that, you know. And they're pretty much on the same, they're on one accord when it comes to the wickedness, you know, so to speak, what happened. You know, so the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. you know, and that's like I said, you know, you got what right around the corner, right down the street, you got the ports. You know, that's where they, you know, do all their, you know, their commerce and all that stuff. You know, what have dealing with the shipping, you know, with the what you call those things, the I forgot what those things are called, man. You know, those traders. You know what I'm saying? You know, here it is. Containers, yeah. You know, you got a bunch of goods and stuff, you know what I'm saying, in these containers. And they're going all the way all across the seas, you know, all over the place. You know what I'm saying? They're doing business. These kings are, you know, these merchants, they call them, you know what I'm saying? They're waxing rich with these containers. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like you got like what is it, Korea? You know, Korea. Let's use that for an example. You know, they could come over here, right, and start a business with black products. You know what I'm saying? Like black products. And they're making billions of dollars. Billions. These fools could barely speak English. You know, they could come over here and set up shop and sell black people products to us. You know what I'm saying? And make billions. And you know who's getting the cut out of that? You know what I'm saying? Esau. You know, so-called white men. Devil the Bible speak of. You know what I'm saying? They, you know, let them come over here, send their products over here and do, you know, whatever. Getting their products from what, China, all kinds of stuff. You know, these are merchants waxing rich. And they're killing two birds with one stone. Why did I say that? You know, they just found out that the hair, the actual fake hair, you know, the fake hair, they got heavy metals in it. Crazy. And there's different levels of the you know, so therefore they making billions off of so-called black people, and they making them sick at the same time. Two birds, crazy. You know, I mean, just like I said, you know, if we will follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, we will be the tail, and we will be the head, and not the tail. But we are the tail because we don't want to hearken to these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know, you got these other nations coming over here, just walking all over us, literally, you know. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers in her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And and we got to come out of her. You know, stop doing the things that, you know, these heathens are doing. You know, I mean, look at, and you know, because what the Most High plagued Egypt, you know, we know about those plagues. You know, he turned the water into blood. They couldn't drink the water. You know, he unalive all their firstborn. You know, even the cows, the cattle. You know, all those plagues they did, and that's what it is. It's plagues. And now, you know, here it is. Let's take the so-called black man. You know, he's the poster boy of HIV medications, right? Which is we know as a plague. It's a plague. AIDS is a plague, man. But now, you know, because the white man is diabolical, you know what I'm saying? He makes this medication. Now you can live with this HIV. You know what I'm saying? So now they're going to continue on in their sin. You know, you got you ever see the commercials? You see the commercials, they're all happy and stuff like that. Oh man, you know what I'm saying? Like, because now they know they can live with this stuff. But they don't think about one thing, man. Now, you know, like history repeats itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going to happen when the market crashes? You know, this place just goes, the economy just drops. And now you can't even purchase your pills. Whoop! There you go. Full-blown AIDS. Full-blown AIDS. But they want to sit there and, you know, and it's going, and then it's going to sit more plays anyways. You know, more plays. I mean, look at the monkeypox because of, living an alternative lifestyle. These dudes still doing it, man. These people still, women too, you know, and they still, you know, and they give you justifiable reasons on why they do what they do. Oh, I was born with this. You know, when they really don't want to tell you the truth, you know, they were abused. You know what I'm saying? 99.9% of them were reviews, you know. But and that's another thing that you know how the Christian and the Catholic Church, they're part of Babylon as well. Because why? If they were really truly, love God, Yahweh, love Christ, man, they will look, that dude they call over there the Pope, what I'm saying? He got power. This dude got power. Just like if he has something to say, do they not stop all the airwaves for this man to get up on there and speak? They do. You know what I'm saying? If they really went by this book, there wouldn't be no alternative lifestyle. There wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be no kind of crime because they listen to this man. But that's how you know they're against the Most High. They're against these scriptures right here. They don't follow these scriptures at all. So they are a part of Babylon as well to keep us lost. They took us far from our border, us as so-called Black, Latino, Native Americans. They took us far from our borders so we could lose our identity, discontinue from our heritage, and defile us through their wickedness over here. This abominable way of life. Saying what they said, come as you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, crazy stuff, man. They what is that? What they say? God hates the sin but loves the sinner. Like he says something like that's not even in the Bible. Man, like think about that shit. He's lucky. God hates the sin but loves the sinner. But yet he tortured Sodom and Gomorrah. He set it on fire. Why? Because they were committing sin. They were doing abominable things. But here it is, they be saying this. The Christian church says this, Catholic church says this, man. And our people believe it. The majority of our people believe it, because we were brought up with this Catholicism, this Christianity stuff, man. Don't hate the sin. He hate the sin, but love the sinner. They got so many sayings. It's like, no, shit. It's luck. But anyway, so yeah. 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquity. He remembered everything. He ain't forgot because what? One day, 1,000 days is only one day to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they did to us back then in Egypt, Rome, he haven't forgot any of this stuff, man. And he's not going to forget them bringing us over here into captivity and doing what they did to us and what they're doing to us, to his chosen people. They got to pay, man. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. Yeah, we're done with that. Let's go to Isaiah real quick. Isaiah 24. Because, like I said, it tells you right here, the earth is defiled. It's Isaiah chapter 24, verse 5. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. There you go, right there. That's a Christian Catholic Church. When it was Constantine, he came and changed the law. He adopted Christianity, meaning he took it over. He took over Christianity, whatever. I mean, we're not Christians anyways, but in their history books it says he adopted Christianity and he turned the Sabbath day, which is Saturday, to that holy day to Sunday. He made that a holy day, their holy day. Because he worshiped what? The sun. It's in history books. And that's why you got Christians to this day celebrating, honoring the Most High's Day on a wicked ass Sunday, first day of the week. When it's the 7th day of the week. That's when he rested. Then they try to get deep when you talk about, every day's a holy day. Shut your wicked butt up, man. Pros. Let's go to Leviticus. Talk about this since we talk about alternative lifestyle. Leviticus chapter 20. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah. Young man Hollis. It's going down. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. Since we're talking about this abominable lifestyle, right? This wickedness, because that's what the Most High said. It's an abomination. Disgusting. Verse 13, this book of Leviticus, chapter 20, verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Yeah, and this is an abomination is what? Oh, excuse me, extreme disgust or hatred. That's what abomination is. And they're gonna have the nerve to say the Most High hates the sin but love the sinner. This was a law. This is a law. I mean, the Most High sent His Son, Yahushua Mashiach, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? He sent him down here to be the mediator, to die for our sins. Because before that, we were being put to death. That was straight up being put to death, and we still are being put to death. Keep on continuing in this abominable lifestyle, you will get put to death, or you're gonna get HIV, AIDS, what have you. Look at all the people that died, from that disease. You know what I'm saying? That was because it's an abomination. Christ didn't die for us to continue to do abominable things. That's not what He died for. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy. But said this Christian church is wicked, man. This Catholic church is wicked. Man is wicked. We got to do what the Most High wants us to do, and that's to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. Bottom line. Let's go to 2 Peter. Because look, 2 Peter. Because look, He does things so we can remember, And what it say, is done, is written down for our learning. I'm paraphrasing. So we can, we have records, so we won't make these same mistakes. That's why we have records. That's why we have laws, statutes, and commandments, man. To keep us on track, keep us from defiling ourselves, polluting our spirit, our soul. And then ended up becoming desolate spiritually, which we are. We are the valley of dry bones, as it states in Jeremiah. But we got to come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. But this is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 2. I'm going to start on 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies. What are heresies? Heresies is something that's opposite of, saying things that's opposite of the Most High. That like the laws are done away with. That's a heresy, right? You know what I'm saying? Even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And that's, let's take somebody just had mentioned Eddie Long. That was swift, we need more swift destructions like that, but that was, that dude dwindled away after that, threw that rock like a little girl, you know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, what he said, I haven't struck, I haven't thrown a first blow or something like that. I'm addicted to him. But he ended up just dwindling away, man. Just went to bones, and after they put him up on the chair, remember they carried him like he was king, put a crown on his head. Swift destruction. That was swift. That was the fastest I've seen. In my time. I don't know. You know, any of the pastors that, got swift judgment like that. That was swift destruction right there. But they are false prophets. You know what I'm saying? Believe you me, those are false prophets. All they are motivational speakers, prosperity preachers, snakes, serpents. That's what they are. Verse 2, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, destructive, deadly ways, pernicious, it's destructive. Their ways are destructive, and it would destroy your spirit. It would destroy you. You know what I'm saying? It would cause you to destroy other people's spirits. That's what it do. It would be a domino effect. Look at all these kids being, abused, sexually abused, or abused. We gotta say essay. See, that's some bullshit. We gotta say essay. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a domino effect. And it starts when you're young, man, because this world is given to the hands of the wicked. And that's what this place is, straight wickedness. You know what I'm saying? And these Christians, man, they want to come against us because what? We try to wake up our people. We want to separate. The Most High says, separate from it. We are holy people, which means separate. You know what I'm saying? We want us to separate from the ways of these other heathens, of these other nations, these Gentiles, because this is their thing. This is what they do. You ever hear of Caligula, what I'm saying, the Roman emperor, back in, I forgot how long it was, man. I forgot the year. It's been a minute since I read about it. But this dude he was, saying, little dudes, man. And then after he was done, he would have his guards, his soldiers, throw him off the ledge, off the, there. What I'm saying? This is Caligula. You can look this dude up, man. Edomite, aka white man. And the story is that his uncle, essayed him. You know what I'm saying? So of course now that spirit's on him, and he's now he's doing it to doing that things, doing those things to little dudes. You know what I'm saying? Little guys. I mean all they were Edomites, but it's still wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's still pretty wrong. That's their nature. It says in Hebrews 12:16. I believe it says Esau is a fornicator. A fornicator is a male prostitute, sexual deviant. That's where you get the fornicator in Greek means porno. Pornos is where they get porno from. It's a vile beast, man. This is who he is. Came up caves, let's keep going. So in verse 2, up to the top, start up to the beginning. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, their destructive ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Just like slip on that. But like I said, we tell them that we come out and speak the truth, and but yet, with us bringing this truth out to our people, we are looked at as hate, and here it is. We don't hurt, we don't harm anyone. We're not about violence or anything like that. All we're trying to do is take our people off of drugs, stop being whoremongers, eating abominable foods, and this government knows this. They know this because why? They study everybody and anybody that's here in their country. And they know this, but yet they're going to put us on the Southern Poverty Law, because why? Because they're against the Most High. They want this place to be wicked. Because like it states in Job 9:24, this world is given into the hands of the wicked. And they got a lot of our people thinking that we are, a hate group. Our people, when we out there putting our lives on the line, trying to wake our people up, but they don't want to listen. What the Most High say, or Christ, sure, I'm paraphrasing. I never knew you. Remember when they say, Christ, they came to Christ, do you know me? Whatever, whatever. He said, I never knew you. That's going to be everybody. These pastors, these Pharisees, these Sadducees. He said, I never knew you. That's going to be these people, the congregation as well. That be going to these Christian churches. Over here praying to the Most High. He ain't listening to you. You can't even put down shrimp. We talking about the shrimp and food. Crazy. You claim you love the Most High. Jumping every Sunday, jumping up and down every Sunday in church. Oh, crazy. Verse 3. And through covetousness, greed, shall they with vain words make merchandise of you. Vain words is what, false words, fictitious words, merchandise of you. And like I said earlier, they're making billions of dollars. They're making merchandise from the Most High chosen people. Straight up, these people coming from the jungles, eating bat, rat, and cat. You know what I'm saying? They come over here still eating rat, bat, and cat. With billions of dollars in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. They in their ways, man. But and whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. Okay, verse 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment. Verse 5. And spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. Verse 6. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overflow, which I stated earlier. Sodom and Gomorrah, he condemned them with an overflow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. Making them he made Sodom and Gomorrah an example for the people that's going to be living after them. And now here we are in modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, overlooking these scriptures right here, because this place is going to get burned up again with nuclear warfare, nuclear missiles. Because it's modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, modern day Egypt, which is synonymous with bondage. Because people over here, the so-called Black Latino native, we are still under bondage. That's why they can unalive us with impunity, throw us in cages with impunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I to this day, it kills me when I see, what it say, they had little Issachar white girls, so-called Mexican girls in cages. In them cages, it said 12-year-old females, 12-year-old and under. Man. Like crazy. You know why? Because they know we God's chosen people. They ain't gonna do this to anybody else. Crazy, man. Yeah. But we don't want to listen, man. Us, I'm talking about so-called Black Latino natives. We don't want to listen to the Most High. And that's how we're gonna get out of this hell, by listening to the Most High. But they're unaliving us in these streets, so-called black men. Look what they did to Cyrus Belton, that young man, down there in South Carolina, for a bottle of water, chased him down, shot him in the back, And then, I just recently brought up, Letitia Harlins, you know, in 1991, that Korean lady shot her in the back of the head, you know what I'm saying, and got probation. You know, they got the green light to unalive us, man. It's because we don't want to listen to these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know, this book tells you to put on the whole armor of God. You know, the whole armor of Yahweh. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we don't want to do it because we want to stay, we want to remain in the sin. What did it say in Job 15, 16? How much more abominable is man that drink iniquity like sin? That's us. You know, that is us. We're lovers of our own self. You know, man will be lovers of their own. You know, paraphrasing. You know, we're not focused on the little ones anymore. You know, we're not trying to. They don't little ones don't have nobody to look up to. You know. This is a terrible place, man. But since we talking about you know, unaliving, you know, let's go to Exodus 20, because that's a law right there, man. Because that's what they doing to us, man. They you know, and if they're not unaliving us unjustly, you know what I'm saying? You know, they had one little dude, man. He's a so-called black kid. The cop hit him up, threw him on the ground and everything like that, because he looked suspicious. Because he looked suspicious. Correct. They didn't catch him in an act or anything like that, but he looked suspicious. This is what they do to us, man, because the scripture says they count our steps. And they, you know, like I said, they unalive us. And the stories that I'm mentioning, you know, like with what you call it? What was his name? Cyrus Belton. These are the stories that they want us, you know, to hear. You know, there's other stories that we're not even, you know, we won't even hear about. Look at the girl in Florida during Juneteenth. I forgot her name. I forgot her name, but they found her hanging. And the Miami-Dade police said, you know, it was suicide. Like, really, come on, man. Did this woman, this so-called black woman, she was 27 years old, years old, I believe. You know, did she really know how to make a noose? Like, really, did she have a rope in her possession? But they just, you know, it's suicide. They unalive us. They haunt our streets, man. You know, but this is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and 13. It says, "Thou shalt not kill." That's in the law right there. Thou shalt not kill. And what are they doing, man? What they do to that boy, Nolan, what's his name? Nolan Wells, man. You know, they unalive that dude. You know, and what? I think what was a couple months before that, 3 months. I said, you know, keep hanging with these white boys, man. Keep hanging with these white folks. You know, do it at your own risk. You know, and look what happened. That first, like, and you don't still have more out there. Talking about all come together, one big melting pot. You know, let's all hold hands. Yeah, y'all better wake up, man. We are at war, man. We are at war. Crazy. They know it, but we don't. We still want to love. Man, love your own kind, man. Come with your own kind. You know what I'm saying? Come together with your own kind, as the scripture says. You know what I'm saying? Gather yourselves together, O nation, I desire. Zephaniah 2:1. That's what it says, right? You know? But you know, I mean, and you know, and that's the thing, man. We are the people that are literally hunting us down in the streets, man. Whether it's the authorities. Now, you know, there are high school kids. Those kids are in high school. If I'm not mistaken. High school. I mean, they just and they know they can get away with it. That's the thing. They know they can get away with it. You know, at least, you know, they just got the green light on unlocking us. You know, but Yeah, that's a law, man. You know what I'm saying? Thou shalt not kill. So you know the white man don't go by these laws. The only reason why we unalive it is because we destroyed for lack of knowledge. We're oppressed, you know, and they did that divide and conquer. You know, they did a whole nice little number on us, man. Destroyed us to where we look in the mirror and we hate ourselves. So therefore, we don't unalive that man that is just like me, whether you black, Latino, or native. You know, this is what we do. You know, because we are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and we have rejected that knowledge. So therefore, the Most High rejected us. So now we are the tail. We're covered with all these curses that it states in Deuteronomy 28. You know, from 15 to 68. We fit those curses right there. No one else fit those curses. Jewish man, they're not from the tribe of Judah. They are Amalek. They're Esau. Bottom line, they're so-called white men. That's why they don't fit these curses. It didn't say that we were going to end up, Judah was going to end up owning the Diamond District, owning Hollywood, entertainment, you know, the entertainment. Say you're going to discontinue from your heritage. That's what it said about Judah. And about Trump. But let's go to Lamentations 4:18, where it says, where it literally said, you know, they hunt our streets, or they hunt us down in our streets, because that's what they do, man. Let's see, Lamentations. Mm-hmm. What's Lamentations? Lamentations 4:18. They hunt our steps. That's what's right. It's lucky, real. We had some technical difficulties, you know. We're back. All right, where were we at? Let's go to the Book of Lamentations, chapter 4:18. Starting at 18. This is the Book of Lamentations, chapter 4:18. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Verse 19. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. You know, and that's, you know, and who hunts us in these streets? Esau. What's their favorite bird? The eagle. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. This is Most High. You can't get up nothing over the Most High. You know, here's a prime example of who Esau is, man. Verse 19, once more from the top. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. And that's what they do. They lay wait for us in the wilderness. But because what? Esau, the so-called white man, is a cunning hunter. You know, we put a deer piss, and he'll wait in the tree for hours just to get that kill. You know what I'm saying? The eagle, that's their favorite. Every country, you know, every European country, the eagle is their bird. You know, I mean, look. All right, look. Let's say the eagle is unclean, right? You can't eat it, right? You can't, just so happen you can't eat the eagle, But let's say if that wasn't a law, and the eagle was fair game, right? The Most High said you can eat it, right? But because it's the white man's favorite bird, this motherfucker right here, man, there's a law. If you kill an eagle, you get $100,000 fine. $100,000. This is for a bird. Now this is something you about to unalive and eat, right? You know what I'm saying, for food. $100,000 fine and a year in federal prison for a bird. Now, if this ain't Esau, man, I don't know who is. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. We talk about a bird as if they created this bird. It's the Most High's creation. So I wonder what happened if you unalive one accident. You still $100,000 fine and a year in federal prison. Crazy, for a bird. And because the type of bird, his attributes, the bird, he's a predator. Oh, what are the odds? He's a predator, so Esau loved to be a predator. That's what he does. Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel 35. This is book of Ezekiel 35, starting at 4. I will lay the cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. And that's the white man. That's what the Most High said. He's gonna have a perpetual. Because they had a perpetual hatred on us, on the so-called Black, Latino, and natives. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna have blood pursuing them. This is what it says right here in the scriptures. And blood is gonna pursue them because they don't hate blood. They love seeing blood, man. So much so they eat bloody meat. What do you say? The same red pottage right there, meaning it's not cooked. Hey man, that one right there, man. I'll take that one right there because it was bloody. That same red pottage right there. You go come across some pastors out there, especially Esau, so-called white man. They say red beans, baked beans, because baked beans, they look red, typically red. You know what I'm saying? This is what they say. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, he sold his birthright for some baked beans. He just said red pottage, and then you go.
It's like beans, the red ones.
No, baked beans, because how baked beans be, red. They look red. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I heard one pastor say, my pastor, false prophet, whatever, false one say, you know what I'm saying? But he said baked beans. I said, where do you get baked beans from? Oh, because they red, stuff like that. But if you go and hit Hebrews, say because it says here a little, there a little, you know what I'm saying? Precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, you got to go here, there, everywhere, you know what I'm saying, what have you, to connect the dots, right? And in Hebrews, it says one morsel of meat. So it was meat in that pottage. And it wasn't done yet. He said that same, put emphasis on saying it. I want that one right there. That same one right there. That's what, it wasn't done. It's crazy. Let me finish the whole thing. Therefore, verse 6. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord God, I would prepare thee unto blood. That's what he says about the Edomites, aka white folks, so-called white people. And blood shall pursue thee, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. You know, they love blood, man. They love to unalive. This is something that they just love to do. It's in their DNA. You know, blood is going to pursue them. So let's go to Nahum. Book of Nahum. Some good stuff in here. Shalom, Yahweh, Shem Yahweh, the officer of 50, Izarwan. Shalom up. Get the water for tuning in. Let's see, where we at? Nahum, chapter 1, verse 2. Chapter 1, verse 2. Yeah. This is the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 2. This is the burden of Nineveh. Well, no, it's like 2. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth, and is furious. It's like the Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. This is what he says. I mean, surely we don't think America is the most high adversary. Surely it is, with all this wickedness that goes on here, with all this unalive, innocent people, destroying them. You know what I'm saying? Destroying their, doing it, destroying them intentionally, destroying men, women, children, intentionally destroying their spirits, man. By taking, you know, look at, you know, I mean, all the things that they've done to us throughout history. You know, look, you know, from slavery on up, you know, taking jobs away from us so we can be in power. You know, all the slick things that they did, put drugs in our community, put guns in our community, you know, and just destroyed us. Just destroyed us. You know what I'm saying? You don't think this place is the Lord's adversaries? Yes, it is, man. Like I said, a place that intentionally destroyed people. Intentionally destroyed people. They built this place off of slaves' backs, off of the backs of slaves. Built this place off of capitalism, man. This place has to go down, just like every other empire before this. You know? And the Most High is going to do it. Let's read it again from the top. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. He's going to revenge this place, man. He's going to revenge. You know, the Lord revengeth and is furious. He is furious at this place. Man, this place is an abomination to the Most High. It's a wicked place. You know what I'm saying? The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries. That's America and this whole world. And he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Most High has enemies, as it states in Exodus 15:3. The Lord is a man of war, and he's going to go to war with his enemies. You know, when he sent his son back, Yahushua Mashiach, the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Like it states in Matthew 10:34. Think not that I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace but a sword. That's what Christ said out of his own mouth. You know, and like I said, man, they targeted specific families. Who? The ones they're targeting today. Looking over there in what is it, Venezuela? That's the tribe of Asher. They're over here, you know, Trump, you know, that devil right there, you know, he blowing up ships. Oh, well, not even ships, little boats, man. Talking about there's drugs on it. Well, if you know there's drugs over there, man, why don't you apprehend them, get the drugs, and take the pictures, you know, and put it on, you know, so we can see the drugs. Well, there's drugs on there. Boom! Just blowing ships up, man. Because he can do it. Why? Because there are people undecided. You know, they're from the tribe of Asher. You know, so-called Venezuelans. You know what I'm saying? Blowing those ships up, man. Blowing them little people up, man. Over there in them little boats, man. You got to pay for that. This government got to pay for this. This world, this country has to pay for it. Those are the most highest people. You know, they target, like I said, they targeted specific families. You know, Judah, Issachar, you know, the Haitians, you know what I'm saying, which are the Levites, you know, so on and so forth. Everybody on that Dominicans, which is Simeon, you know, Puerto Ricans, Ephraim. Who was the one that just had the electricity just went out with 10 million people? Cubans, so-called Cubans, which is Manasseh. You know, they're targeting all of us. You know, the 12 lost tribes, man, and it goes on and on and on. You got so-called Gag, so-called Native Americans. That's Gag. You got them over there drinking themselves to death, and their women and little girls are coming up missing. But nobody's talking about them because they're stuck out there on reservations. You know, and they're, it's Edomites, so-called white man, you know, kidnapping those little girls. No, you can't even say kidnapping. It's terrible. Crazy. Yeah, but why? You can't say kidnapping because this country kidnapped a whole nation of people. You know, like for real. Crazy. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. And this is you know, this is a book, you know, it's in the Apocrypha, which, you know, you got these so-called Christian, so-called black Christian pastor says that this is not a reputable source, you know, because Martin Luther King, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther, you know, dude back in the 1400s, whatever, you know, he was a Protestant, you know, that's where you get protests from, you know, Protestants protest. You know, he said it wasn't a reputable source. It's not canon or what have you. You know, but here it is. They got some heavy stuff in here, man. Let's see. What else say? Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes. And really, it speaks of Alexander the Greek and their wicked ways, you know, the Greeks and the Romans and what have you, Gentiles. It tells you that they, the Edomites, you know, it's all in there. That's why they took it up, you know. But let's go ahead and get it. Ecclesiasticus 39, chapter 39, verse 28. Let's see. Verse 28, this is Ecclesiastes 39, 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. Those sore strokes is bombs. Stroke, it blows. You know, that's what a stroke is, man. You know, blows. And that's going to come from who? The Most High. He gonna blow up this place. You know, with what? Nuclear bombs. Straight blows. Those are what the strokes are, right? In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. They appease, he's going to be satisfied when those bombs go off, when these nations start fighting against nations. That's what's going to happen. He's going to appease the Most High. He's going to satisfy the Most High. Verse 29, fire and hail and famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. This is what the Most High is going to do to this place. You know, we're going to have more plagues, more famine, more natural disasters, and top it off, we on the brink of World War III. You know, it's brewing. This place is going to get blown up by nuclear warfare. You know, verse 30, teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. There's nowhere you're going to be able to hide. Most High will send his wrath, he's going to send it. There's nowhere where you're going to be able to hide. Verse 31, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. They're not going to go against the Most High. When he point, he's going down, man. This place is going down. When the Most High is ready and point, it's it. And if you're not on board, you so-called Black, Latino, and Native, you know, if you want to be like this vile, abominable place, you know, the Most High is going to tear this place up, man. It says, come out of her, my people, in Revelations 18 for a reason. Don't be partakers of this world, man. You got to come out of this place, man. Bottom line. Not physically, but mentally, man. Spiritually. Stop doing the ways of the heathen. You know, you got to do the ways of the Most High, the law, statutes, and commandments, man. You know, and see, you know, there's, you know, these, you know, and the people don't, the Christian church, the Catholic church, they don't want to read scriptures like this, man. They want to lie to you. They want to keep you asleep, man, and blind, your eyes closed, man. You know what I'm saying? Because all they talk about is love, 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 love. They don't talk about the vengeance of the Most High. They don't talk about that at all. Because why? The truth is not in them. You know, the truth is far from them. They don't speak the truth at all. Why? Because they don't have the truth. You know, they know, what is it? They know not what they worship. Yeah, let's go get that. Let's go to John 4. John 4. What's up? What's on? I'm about to wrap it up. A couple more scriptures. Let's go to John, you know, because they know not what they worship. You know, these Christians and Catholic churches, they worship money, man. They worship man. You know, as it states in Isaiah 29:13, and Christ reiterates it in I believe it's 15, 5. Let me go. Matthew 15, I believe it is, because that's who they worship, man. They worship man. This is Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 7. This is what Christ says: "Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesied of you, saying, this people draw nigh to me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me." How is their heart far from me? They don't want to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. They don't want to stop eating crab, shrimp, crab, and lobster, and pork. You know, that's why their heart is far from me. But they talk that stuff. Oh, God, I love God. Oh, this and that about God. But their heart is far from them. Their mind is far from them. Okay? Verse 8. This people draw nigh unto me with their mouth, honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Verse 9. But in vain and foolishness, they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. That's who they listen to. Pork chop pastor and the PDF file priests. That's them right there. Hey, PDF file pastor. The Christian Catholic Church, one and the same. You know, if they worship, they don't know what. Just like Christ told this woman right here. You know, this is the book of John, chapter 4, verse 22. Ye worship, you know not what. Ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. Salvation is of Israel. Because at one point, you know, we all became, you know, when we were under Roman rule, they just put us all on under one umbrella, which called us Jews. We were all known as Jews, even though we, 12 different tribes, you know what I'm saying, we became Jews, you know what I'm saying? But it said salvation is of the Jews, and this is what Christ said this, you know what I'm saying? You just say salvation is of the Gentiles, the East Indians, the Asians, you know what I'm saying, the so-called white man, the Nigerian, Ethiopian, you know, and they shit. It's like in what Zephaniah 2:12 it says, "Ye Ethiopians also shall be slain by my sword." That's what it says. Now, if you're an Ethiopian, man, you probably should go to the Christian church and ask, why is that in there? like, and you know what they're gonna do? Oh no, that's the Old Testament. That's what they're gonna do. That's the first thing they're gonna do because they ain't trying to mess up their money. They want that Ethiopian, that Hamite, stinking ass Hamite money, man. You know, yeah. You know, but they, you know, and what else do they do? They teach that there's a hell. Only man would think like that. You know, because what? Man like to torture people. You know, you really think the Most High be like, yeah, I'm about to put John down in hell right now, man. You know what I'm saying? They be like, yeah, there you go. You know, yeah, he down there suffering. Yeah, look at him burning. Nigga, he don't care about you like that. Nigga, gone. He don't have to think about you being in hell. That's man's way of thinking. There's no such thing as hell. We are in hell. I'm talking about no such thing as hell. It's with a man, with a devil, with a pitchfork. That's man's way of thinking because man likes to torture. You know, that's what he likes to do, aka Edomite. You know what I'm saying? White men. You know, they love to torture. You know, that's their ways, man. They, you know, people that created torture chambers. You know, is there any, you cannot come across any kind of apparatuses, you know, torture apparatuses in the Bible. Like, I'm gonna put this stake up your rectum and make it come all the way out through your mouth. That's the white man for you. Like, it's the treacherous beast, man. Vile beast. That's the white man for you. What? Am I making this up? I mean, what they do? To the horses, you know, tear their limbs off and stuff like that. Like some crazy stuff. What they used to do to us, they put us in a barrel, put nails in the barrel, and roll them down the hill with the undulations and stuff. Boom. Can you imagine that? Like, you know, put an old woman behind the horse, brand a horse, and he knows because it uses a peripheral, you know, have, you know what I'm saying, kick her in the chest, old woman. This is in books, history books. And the list goes on. The list goes on. I just mentioned to you what the delectable Negro, you know what I'm saying? They ate, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but they ate Nat Turner. They ate him. You know, this is what they did. And it's not far-fetched. Then they have the one that got caught was Jeffrey Dahmer. You know what I'm saying? That's the one that got caught. You know, but there's more Jeffrey Dahmers out there. You know, I knew under the sun, man. Those spirits are still out here, man. This is what they do, man. Delectable Negro. You know, that's an actual book, man. Eating us. That's what they did. Remember when they were getting off the ship, you know, off the slave ships and stuff like that, people would come up and, you know, put their price in whatever for a slave. They get the sweat, you know, the sweat off them. Remember, they got feces on them and everything like that, being up under the cargo slave ships and stuff like that. And then get the sweat and taste it to see how pure they were. Diabolical. That's Esau, aka the white man. You know, it's crazy. Anyways, but yeah, you know, it says what you worship, you know not what, you know, and that's us. We don't know what, you know, our people don't know what we worship. They end up worshiping man, thinking they worship the Most High. No, man, you worship the Most High by following His laws, statutes, and commandments. You know. But let's go. Speaking of hell, let's go to Matthew 10. The book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 28. And listen to this carefully. You know, this is how you know there's no such thing as a place with a devil with a pitchfork, where you know people are just suffering. You know, and when you read about Lazarus and you know brothers or whatever, you know who was what was it? Abraham was down there with Lazarus and everything like that. Whatever the brother, I'll paraphrase. You know, I think there was Brother A. I forgot, man. I should have looked up the scripture, but you know, it's a parable. You know, and here it is. You got Christians thinking that that's actually, you know, Abraham was in hell, nigga. You actually think Abraham, he's called faithful Abraham. You think he went to hell? Like stupid. Like they don't know what they read. Because they're indoctrinated. You know, indoctrinated what? Is fundamental. Fundamental is what? Basic. Those words are related. They're learning basic stuff, and they're learning a lot. They can even learn basic stuff. You know, but this is book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul. It said, fear not them which is able to kill the body, but is not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Your body, you know, let's leave it to the Christian church when they taught us. They didn't teach us that our body went to hell. They teach us that our soul goes to hell, right? So how in the hell is your body going to be in hell, and your spirit, and your soul? It's because hell is right here, man. And the Most High could unalive you, your body and your soul right here, in hell. You are in hell, and there are different levels of hell. Like the things that the so-called Mexicans are going through right now, and you know, I mean, because you know, we've been unalive. You know, you got Nolan Wells being unalive like that. You know, but look at what these little kids have to go through, man. They over there in cages, man. Wherever they are, in cages, man. Getting stripped from their parents. In cages, man. Little girls, 12 females. They don't even say they say females. They don't say little girls. Little kids, little girls, whatever. Females, 12 and under. Just imagine, man, being around them, all them Edomites, them PDF files. Probably, you know, them kids, man, you don't know what they're going through, man. That's hell. That's straight hell, man. Crazy. And we have no, like the scripture says in Deuteronomy 28:32, you know, we have no might in our hands to get our kids, man. Let's go to that real quick. Because that's us. We had it on the auction blocks, right? You know, we had no might in our hands to get our little ones. And to this day, you know, it's still going on with our people, man. Tribe of Issachar, you know, over here especially. You know, but this is the book of Deuteronomy 28:32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eye shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hands. In thine hands. That's us, man. Can't do nothing about it. We can't do nothing about them little girls being thrown in cages. Them little boys being thrown in cages. But you know what we doing? We get mad and we go unalive each other. We take it out on ourselves. That's what we do. Because we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And we reject this knowledge. That's why the Most High said, I will also reject you. And that's why we're going through what we're going through, man. But with that, you know, I'll say, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, walk a thumb to the brothers. Yahweh Shema al thumb by Shem Yahshua to the sisters. Shalom, Israel.